Clay Patton on the Rural Radio Network with a check of your Midwest sheep and goat market for the week ending November the 12th. First, this report brought to you by Moline Seed and Fence. They're proud to sponsor the Midwest Sheep and Goat Report. Moline Seed and Fence is your local dealer for Riviera custom gates, goat and sheep pens, along with Mountain View sheep and goat equipment. You can check it all out at their website. That's MolineSeedandFence.com, MolineSeedandFence.com. Thank you to Moline Seed and Fence, sponsor of the Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report. For the week ending November 12th, the Midwest Sheep and Goat Market was steady to higher again this week. Northern sales about 15 to 20 higher on prime slaughter lambs. Southern sales really kind of holding steady with the prior week. That kind of brings us back up to a more even basis. We saw a little bit of that spread come back across here. Really, though, as you look to it, Sioux Falls and Kelowna, Iowa still remain the top end of this wool lamb market. Prime wool lambs in both markets topped $300 a hundredweight. On the goat side, though, this week, unfortunately, we didn't see any of those sales topping the $400 a hundredweight range like we did on those lightweight ones. Now, I do go to one comment that we saw in San Angelo this week where they say that the overall quality of the market was a little plainer than last week. That could be a little bit of a factor coming in here if we just didn't quite see the same prime quality come through the market as we did last week to really help pull it back up into that higher market. However, the market could also be just taking a little bit of a breather here. It's still early in November, but seasonally speaking, it does look like we kind of want to start to turn this market back up into more of an uptrend if things continue to move in that direction. Now, if you're watching the calendar for 2023 ethnic holidays, here might be a little help for you. Ramadan, month of fastings, March 22nd to April 20th. Passover, April 5th. Roman Easter, April 9th. And Orthodox Easter, April 16th. Now, let's break down some of the top sellers this week. We'll go to Columbus Sales Pavilion. They sold 15 head of 61-pound feeder wool lambs for $228 a hundredweight. That's $140 a head. Columbus also sold a single boar doe weighing 260 pounds for $360 a head. Colby Livestock in Kansas sold one 60-pound wool lamb for $240 a hundredweight. That's $144 a head. Realize that that's a one-off single and kind of an interesting situation, but still the top end of their wool lambs to be sold through Colby. Meanwhile, Colby also sold 35 head of 45-pound feeder goats weighing $385 a hundredweight. That's $173 a head. Centennial Livestock in Fort Collins, Colorado sold 34 head of 63-pound slaughter lambs. They brought $210 a hundredweight, or averaging about $132 a head. The upper end of the draft brought $139 a head, or $220 a hundredweight. Centennial also sold 38 head of 126-pound open slaughter does for $270 a head. That's $214 a hundredweight. Sioux Falls Regional Livestock, here's the big ones. 17 head, 51-pound prime slaughter lambs, $300 a hundredweight, $150 a head. Sioux Falls Livestock also sold 24 head of 75-pound wool slaughter lambs, $225 a hundredweight. That was $169 a head on the average. Upper end of the draft bringing $265 a hundredweight, $198 a head. Producers Livestock in San Angelo sold 45 head of replacement open running age hair ewes weighing 121 pounds for $134 a hundredweight. That's $162 a head. Upper end of the draft bringing $154 a hundredweight, $186 a head. Hamilton Commission Company again topped the hair lamb market with the upper end of the 60-pound hair lambs bringing $330 a hundredweight. That's $200 a head. Kelowna, Iowa sold 55-pound slaughter wool lambs for up to $340 a hundredweight. That is $187 a head. USDA retail meat data for the week ending November 11th did note that the data was actually collected through Thursday, as Veterans Day on Friday was considered a federal holiday, so the USDA took the day off. But for the week, the lamb and veal retail activity index about 16% lower. The feature rate was 4% lower, special rate 2.8% lower, so not pretty from a retail perspective. Lamb cuts were 15.4% lower. For the week, roast ad space was up almost 5%. Chop ad space, though, was sharply lower. Lamb features offered more ad space for boneless leg and for ground lamb. Now, it's good to see ground lamb. Saw those temperatures really cool down towards the end of the week. Nice chili type or some products, kind of those comfort foods, being able to incorporate the ground lamb into it. I love to see that it was being featured there, trying to capture some of that market. For the livestock producer, though, the rancher, the livestock feeder here, let's look at other commodity markets. U.S. dollar continued to weaken as money flowed away from it as a safe haven. As a result, countries have somewhat stepped up their buying activity in U.S. grains. Mexico and China were actively buying corn and soybeans this week. However, Thursday's export sales and shipments number did reveal that unknown destinations, which many analysts consider to be China, canceled about 767,000 metric tons of new crop soybean purchases, and that really it could have been due to a whole host of reasons why, but that sent us from the prior weeks where we've seen 2 million metric ton sales for everybody over the week. That cut us from 2 million metric tons down all the way down to just over 800, just right at 800,000 metric tons. So that really pulled back on it. Wednesday, USDA released their latest supply and demand estimates. No big surprises there. USDA did increase by about 0.4 of a bushel, both corn and soybean production here in the U.S. That nominally increased production really wasn't offset by international or domestic demand, but USDA did leave all the export numbers unchanged, given the fact, though, that we still have a lot of logistical issues moving grains in the eastern portion of the U.S., where they had a much, much better growing picture. But I think big picture really coming out of this week is that the grain trade appears to be nearing a stage where it's going to be range-bound at best. South America is predicting a stronger crop than last year, despite ongoing droughts in several key production regions. The U.S. crop is more of a known quantity at this point, so supply concerns a little bit more back on their heels. Demand destruction a little bit more of an issue. So will we see grain prices return to their highs where we've seen or even put in new highs versus what we saw this last year? That's a little bit more up in the air. For the livestock feeder, though, it shows also likely we won't see previous lows what we saw 18, 24 months ago. Likely those numbers a little bit behind us as well, because the market's still seeing really tight supplies overall, so they're not going to let it go too far down before we'll see a lot of bargain buying step back in. Hay market for Nebraska, Kansas, Iowa, South Dakota, Colorado, and Wyoming once again steady this week. As we've talked in this report as well, it's really not the price of hay as much as it is an availability of the hay, the bigger issue. North to south dairy quality alfalfa appears to be one of the hardest classes of hay to find. Meanwhile, grass hay supplies are quickly dwindling, with grass hay being used to start winning calves a lot of feed yards in the region. Nebraska's USDA hay report notes that several producers are already noting that they're going to hold off all remaining sales of hay supplies. They're going to wait until 2023 before they market it. So producers who typically buy hand-to-mouth supplies through the winter, this year it's going to be tough to help find those supplies. Lamb market, lamb slaughter this week was 37,000 head through Saturday. That's an increase of 3,000 head from the prior week, also down 2,000 from last year. So seasonally, we see a run up in lamb slaughter. Good to see that we are still seeing that pickup, but we're still not quite to where we were last year. As year-to-date lamb slaughter were 1.5 million. We're still 157,000, or about 9.4% back behind last year. Good news is live lamb weights this week matched last year at 126 pounds, still up 1 pound from last week. Dressed lamb weight 64 pounds, up 1 pound from last week. Same with last year. So overall, we're not really producing that much more lamb. So that's a positive news, is that we're not backing these lambs up. We don't have those big lambs still in the market that hurt us early on and kind of broke that market back a couple months ago. So again, if we can kind of hold things and continue to pick up this slaughter pace, that is a really positive sign that we can help to hold this stronger wool lamb market like we're seeing right now. Goat slaughter under federal inspection, 9,987 head. Here's your regional price breakdown on the week. Wool lambs, 20 to 40 pounds, not enough applicable sales. 40 to 70 pounds, 105 to 340 a hundredweight. 70 pounds and up, 136 to 265 a hundredweight. Hair lambs, 20 to 40 pounds, 200 to 350 a hundredweight. 40 to 70 pounds, 195 to 330 a hundredweight. 70 pounds and up, 160 to 260 a hundredweight. Wool ewes, slaughter ewes, 30 to 155 a hundredweight. Slaughter rams, 50 to 150 a hundredweight. As for the hair ewes, $150 to $200 a head for replacement quality. Slaughter quality ewes, 70 to 140. $140 a head. Hair rams, $85 to $170 a hundredweight. On the kid goats, 20 to 40 pounds, $150 to $385 a hundredweight. 40 to 70, $210 to $370 a hundredweight. 70 pounds and up, $200 to $325 a hundredweight. On the wethers, 70 pounds and up, $207 to $320 a hundredweight. Slaughter does, medium to fleshy, $125 to $270. Replacement quality, $130 to $350 a head. And on the slaughter bucks, $150 to $300 a hundredweight. Breeding bucks were $250. There was an outlier quote there at $600 a head. And that is the latest here in your Midwest Sheep and Goat Market Report. Appreciate your continued support and listenership.